Uno, dos, tres, Geno, Smith. My goodness gracious. Yeah, so the game ended and I kind of paused for a little bit because I always get really excited, especially towards the end of the games that are close like that. A part of me was kind of rooting for overtime. I also would have noted that even if they did get that extra point, we would have been in the same situation where we would have had to drive the field and kick that field goal. Jason Myers made all of his field goals today. What a boss. To all the Jason Myers haters, yeah, he continues to be really consistent this year. It's hard to kick in certain seasons and certain elevations and at certain distances and on certain hash marks, and you ultimately do just need to be fucking consistent. But when he was the least consistent this year was when the offensive line was hurt. Once we got our starters back, especially once they started rolling in or once they started getting a little bit more stable, he seemed to do a lot better. I'm a little dizzy too, so I tried to take a little break before jumping on, but I'm just kind of dealing with it. So let's jump into the first thing, the first topic, which is Geno Smith. Let's face it, he threw 5 incompletions in a row. And then we started running the football. Specifically, not just with Kenneth Walker, but with Zach Charbonnet. And Zach Charbonnet looks really good running between the tackles. And after we started doing that, that defense started playing us a little more honest. They weren't just, focused on Geno the entire time. Play action started working, and something interesting started to happen. We started moving the chains. And in fact, Geno started to look a little feisty, right? The Geno that we're used to seeing when he's moving down the field. Fuck you, yeah. He's got a little bit of an attitude to him, right? Almost like a Phillip Rivers. He's ready to fucking go. Except when he's under pressure, he's got a little bit of a, okay, so that guy's over there and that guy's over there, and we don't want him doing that. We wanted him to be in Geno Smith down the field mode. And we got that. And we got that twice at the end of the game, where this dude's just like to the slant. We got a fucking slant to DK fucking Metcalf, and he's jazzed up. And people are freaking out because he's like dragging defenders for an extra 10 yards, which sets up the game-winning field goal. And, it was the difference between a 53-yard field goal attempt and a 43-yard field goal attempt, which if you have issues with Jason Myers, you got to love that play. Because it was like an extra 10 yards from just DK Metcalf doing DK Metcalf things. And I don't think that was a slant. I think that was just a deep, wide fucking... what are those called? It's been like an entire week and I don't know the exact name. I'm going to call it a deep slant. I'm just going to call it a deep slant. That's how excited I am. Deep crosser. Holy shit. And the deep crosser. Yeah, he gets right in the middle for that deep crosser. Just fucking drags these guys across the field. But, he started going off really once he started doing these comebacks. It was like these deep curls. And he would just drive, right? Oftentimes, he's got like these alligator arm catching. He doesn't really catch with his hands. And everyone was having trouble catching the ball on both sides today because it was just so slick. And I don't know if it started raining less in the second half, but he would like try to go for the ball, and he wasn't really he knows how to box people out on routes, but he doesn't fight for the ball because he's not Jerry Rice with the I spent my childhood where my father was throwing me bricks, and I would have to be careful to catch the bricks, otherwise the bricks would tear up my hands or hit me in the face, because my father would just chuck them at me, so I had to catch them perfectly, and that's why I'm such a good catcher of the football. No, DK Metcalf is like clomping as he's trying to catch this ball. And many times you see him trying to catch it with his chest, and he's gotten better. No throwing up on my mattress grits. He's getting excited. I'm excited too. Are you okay, friend? But he's, he doesn't attack the football with his fingertips, right? He doesn't go for the corners of the brick. He doesn't go for the whites on the tips of the football. He doesn't go for those little corners, right? He just clomp like an alligator. He's got those alligator arms. And so he kept missing catches all game on these contested catches. And I guess their solution around halftime was, we're just going to have you make that man go deep and then aggressively run straight back at Geno Smith, and he's going to throw it right at you, and then you're going to catch it, and then turn around and then try to beat the guy who's trying to tackle you now. And that seemed to be their game plan. And once that started to work, then they were running slants, and it was just be as aggressive out of your breaks as possible, DK. And that seemed to work. And instead of run your corner routes or run your post routes or run your 88 routes, I don't know, run to the green. So just all of that energy for DK mixed with Charbonnet, and even Kenneth got a little bit. I would still like to see him run better between the tackles. He just keeps getting stuffed whenever he tries to run there, and he keeps trying to bounce when he shouldn't. I think he has vision problems. I think that was something that was learned in college, and he still hasn't quite. He's showed improvement, right? He's shown improvement, but I think he still has vision problems when it comes to reading between the tackles. And because defenses know that when he's on the field, they're shoring up the gaps on the outside, and so he's having problems running outside. But when Charbonnet is in there, he was like teeing off 10-yard rushes back to back to back, and then he was getting like a 14-yard rush, and he'd get tired, and we'd put in Ken, and he'd get like a 3-yard rush, which is good, right? But then he'd also get like a 1-yard rush or a 0-yard rush. And every once in a while, the most effective play actually was that, like a 66-yard pass or a 64-yard pass or something. It was the little dump off, the little screen or a little, maybe the little halfback out. Maybe that's what that was, where they fake a handoff. He runs up through the A gap and then checks out. I don't quite know. I'd have to look at the replay. But it was a similar, because the Commanders had been hitting us with screens to Robinson all day. And so it was nice to just see a little timed out backpedal with Geno. The defensive line comes rushing, dump it off to Kenneth, and on this night, let's just call it an out. And then he just, with his speed, because he loves being out in space, and he goes out, let's call it a safety or an outside linebacker, trips trying to get out to him, and then he's just fucking gone, right? And that combination of the run game with that play action, right? Because if we weren't running before, that out probably wouldn't have been as effective, because that line, let's call it the outside linebacker. The outside linebacker is in conflict. Does Geno have the ball or does Kenneth have the ball? And he probably is just standing there trying to figure out, okay, does Geno have it or does Kenneth have it? Okay, Kenneth doesn't have it. So he's in the backpedaling position. And then he probably has like another roll behind him. Kenneth sees the ball, has to break. So it creates like a weird conflict. And I'd have to watch the tape. I'm just imagining. But it was just cool to see all of this going on after we started running the ball and just seeing confidence build up in our quarterback who, again, he's capable of being really good. And as we've seen with a lot of quarterbacks over the years, from Matt Hasselbeck to Nick Foles to Brock Purdy, right? If you have a quarterback that is good at specific things and can run your offense, and you surround him with talent, you don't need to pay him top dollar. He just needs to feel comfortable in what he can do and what he's surrounded with. And you need to let the offense run as an engine. But if you don't let, like, for example, the quarterback is driving a car, is riding a horse, right? And is trying to control this thing and manage this thing and pull the levers. And if you don't let the engine run, if you're trying to put that car or that horse on the quarterback's back, you're going to crush your quarterback. It's not how, the football team is designed to function. And you could kind of see it today with like that Jaguars team where they have Trevor Lawrence and they have like Christian Kirk and they have that tight end who's eluding me, but they don't really have a lot else going on in their scheme. And so they go up against this 49er squad and they can't just like the offensive line and the way that the offense function, there's no engine to it. There's no way to get that defense to function a specific way so the quarterback can be like sitting back and be like, oh, so this thing is going to do this, so I'm going to do this. Boop. And you could see with Sam Howell, we clearly had the better defense against their offense. But what they kept doing was, well, we're going to get the ball to Robinson. And the more we get the ball to Robinson on these fucking screens, it's going to spread everything out. And then we're going to be able to get Sam Howell off on the outside to make unscripted plays because they're going to have to wait and look at the screen to see, hey, are they going to throw the screen on the outside? Is the guard pulling and stuff like that? Their whole thing was that we're going to slow down their pass rush even just for a second. And then by doing that, when we do pull everything, we're going to make sure that we have some options because they're going to get so focused on trying to stop Robinson, who ended up getting like 130 plus yards, or was it 103, that it will hopefully open up either rushing lanes, which it did for Sam Howell, or it will open up Terry McLaurin or Butts as fuck. I don't remember his name, that beat Witherspoon and Brooks in the end zone at the end of the game. Like the tip. Remember they went to go tip the pass, and it was just such a pretty pass. I can't be too upset about that. It was a perfect pass. Those guys went up there to deflect it. We've seen like Earl and Cam or Earl and Bobby get beaten on passes like that. That was a beautiful pass to a really tall guy. And then the other the flanker is downfield blocking for him. It was just, a wide out and a flanker doing what wide out and flankers do, and a perfect pass downfield. It happens. What was concerning was, why was Jones covering Robinson on the flat? You know the play. It was the same play as the first drive where Robinson scores the touchdown for them, where Mafe was covering him on the flat and completely loses him. And Jones was doing it. So that must be a tendency breaker where we're on tape. Bieniemy has noticed, hey, like Clint Hurt drops such and such defender, like if Jones was on the end for Mafe on that play. In this situation, the defensive end drops into coverage. So we're going to have the running back there, and when that's open, it will create a huge lane to get massive chunk yardage. And like I said with Bruce Arians, when you try to spread everything out, you want to arrange specific shot plays. And Bruce Arians, pre-game, at least when he was on the Cardinals, he wanted to have 6 shot plays per game. So I'm just wondering if Bieniemy was like, yeah, we want to try to hit this like twice. Like, or whenever this thing comes up, let's just fucking ram this. And so, like, why would you, after the Mafe thing especially, why would you try that again? Why is Jones in coverage, period? I thought he was brought in to be a pass rusher and a run stuffer, or at least a guy that can hold a blocker so someone like Bobby can get in there. Bobby was all over the backfield today. There was that play where he got beat in pass coverage, and that was pretty brutal. But as far as like his ability to get into the backfield, I talked about tackles for loss. I wanted to see a bunch of tackles for loss today. Bobby was that dude today. He was all up in the quarterback and the running back's face today. Which reminds me, Boye Mafe, to say something nice about him. He set a Seahawks record for 7 games in a row with a sack, beating Michael Sinclair. So congratulations to Boye Mafe. A lot of those sacks, they do look a little bit built, but come on, it's not like defensive coordinators in the past haven't tried to build sacks for players, right? We've done it with Jamal Adams. We've done it with linebackers. I'm sure we did it with Cortez Kennedy. I'm sure we did it with the Boz, right? The defensive coordinators all the time. Like, it's the reason why J.J. Watt got so many sacks in the day. He was not drafted to stop the run. He was drafted to get to the passer. And what they would do is that they would set up blocks for him and create gaps. Remember how I always talk about the offensive line creates gaps for the spear, and then the tip of the spear makes a play. The defense is a reflection, right? So the pass rusher is like a running back, where you're rushing and you're trying to attack a specific point on the field. And I've talked about, if you think about it, West Coast offense, 3-step system, 5, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You want to get to where the quarterback or the running back is at a certain step point. So for a pass rusher, if you know that the quarterback is going to be at step 3, step 5, or step 7 at a certain point, you can, as a coordinator, be like, well, I know that the quarterback in this formation is going to be running a boot, which means in a boot, if I can slide my 3-tech into the tackle and make it like a 5-eye, and then I slide my 5 tech outside to a 7. And then at snap, have my 7 stunt inside behind the 5-eye. As the quarterback is booting, I can meet the quarterback into the boot spot. 5-eye meaning the inside shoulder of the tackle. Or 5, you would be right up in front. 3, you'd be right up in front of the guard. 3-eye, you're on the inside shoulder of the guard. Inside being closest to the center. So yeah, I'm wondering if they're doing that with Mafe, because on that sack that he got it, the right tackle was way out, and he stunted inside, and that's why I mentioned the 7 and the 5-eye. I don't think he was lined up in 7. I'm just using a extreme example. Let's see. What else was cool? Oh, shit. You know what was really cool today? Fucking Devin Witherspoon. That dude, yeah. So pre-draft, I was saying he needs to be picked. Like, this dude looks like Earl Thomas playing cornerback. He needs to be picked. And I'm like, if Pete Carroll ever wants to draft a player in the top 5, it's always going to be a defensive back, because of the legend of, well, he never got to make it in the NFL because he was too short and too slow. He went to go deflect a pass, and then he saw that his arm wasn't long enough, and this is why he wants cornerbacks that have really, really long arms. And he likes these like really juiced up guys, and he sees, safeties as the quarterbacks of the defense, and he values them more than quarterbacks themselves. So, of course, he was going to grab Witherspoon in my mind, because Witherspoon isn't a cornerback. He's a safety. I'm like, he's Earl Thomas, who just happens to play corner. And people are like, well, he's going to play on the outside. I'm like, no, he's going to play on the inside. He's not going to play on the inside. He doesn't really have any experience. And he's playing on the inside. And he looks amazing. He's all over. And it's because when you play quarter coverage, you need a safety on the inside. And Adams is on the other side. So he's just a weak safety. And he's in there tackling the shit out of people. He had like at least 3 passes defensed. He should have had a pick. He's sniffing out screens. He's jazzing people up. Fucking people are recovering fumbles, and he's there immediately and go. Ah. He looks like a young Pete Carroll the way he's got all this excitement. I haven't seen this much energy since Earl Thomas. Except he looks like there's this love our brothers energy all over again. Him and Jamal, Woolen almost gets a pick. Everyone's excited, right? There's a fumble recovery. Everyone's excited. Who was it that took who recovered the ball? And then they all end up in the end zone together, and they're all like flexing and shit. But sometimes they do it, and it's like a whole bunch of guys who are like unfamiliar with each other. They know each other, but there's not like that brotherly vibe. No, all of these guys are going to be on the same team together for like years and years. Especially Woolen and Witherspoon. They're going to be on the team together for a long time. And I will hope that Adams and Trey are also on this team for a long time, because holy cow, that energy that they bring. And I will get on my critiques of Adams later, but as the game progressed, Adams started to look better as well in his tackling. And we can talk about he's rushing and not getting sacks. He's doing his job. He's supposed to get to a specific spot on the field at the specific time to make the quarterback do a specific thing. And whether he gets a sack or not is irrelevant. When he gets there, he has an opportunity to make a play. but he still needs to, as the spear, reach that point. And if at the point being the tip of the spear. And once he gets there, if the target is still there, then he can make a play, which is attempt to sack, attempt to force a fumble. You get the idea. So when you think about all these guys together on the field, they can only really get better, other than maybe Witherspoon, which is crazy because I can't really see. Okay, so he's getting beat on like some man beaters in like the slot against tight ends. I think I saw him get beat like once today on like a typical bang bang like seam play that's designed to beat that guy specifically. It's really hard to stop that play. So he could get like tighter, I guess. And I mean, that's just going to come with experience. That's also a matter of size difference, where he's shorter and the dude that was covering him was bigger. They got beat on that touchdown, him and Brooks. So maybe he can work on timing his jumps, right? I mean, ultimately, you're only so tall, right? And it was a perfect throw. Sometimes quarterbacks are just going to make perfect throws. Let's talk about Adams now. I talked about it all week. The shoestring tackling. And he was doing it again, right? He was missing tackles today because of the shoestrings. He improved. We started to see him maybe not necessarily stop the guy immediately in his tracks. But what I saw was he started to wrap up around the legs. So instead of going for the shoestrings, there was this play on the right line where he just literally just took this guy's legs and held them together. Perfect. It's funny though, because every time Jamal Adams tackles somebody, he seems to get dragged for another 2 or 3 yards, no matter what he does. There's that one play earlier where he kind of got in the way and mimed him and like held him like a wall. But yeah, he changed. I think he got talked to and coached too, because I didn't see any more shoestring tackling after that last mistake that led to a first down and a bunch of yards. Like, it's almost like they were like, enough is enough. Dude, a hawk tackle. Take your arms, wrap. And then it was a wrap. And he started wrapping up around guys' legs and stuff, and sure enough, he was bringing them down. Sure, it might be a 2 or 3 yard because you're light and they're going to drag you. But if you're going for the shoestring, they're going to do it anyways. And you might snap your fingers again, dude. Come on. Just wrap up. Your labrum will be fine. It's been 2 years. You're good, bro. You're good. It was good to see that. It was good to see him respond to coaching. It was good to see the defense respond to coaching. They were giving up first downs, and Sam Howell, they were moving the chains. I think it was, people were expecting us to get a shutout. And I think that's inappropriate against any team, especially against a team like Sam Howell and Bieniemy and Terry McLaurin and apparently Robinson. All teams are good. And Eric Bieniemy especially, he is going to attack you in ways that he knows you're weak. And so I knew that this was going to be a good challenge for our defense. And I called it all week. I kind of felt like, less so on the Geno Smith and our offense side, but on the Sam Howell versus our defense side, it kind of felt like I was watching a script. We got the screens. We got Terry on the flanker side. apparently Curtis Samuel was in, and he was Terry was on the wideout side. Samuel was on the flanker side, and it was just like a lot of dump offs and screens, and trying to get Sam moving around to get our defense off rhythm, because the sacks were coming, right? There was so much pressure on that kid. When he had a clean pocket, they would make explosive passing plays, or he would make some plays with his legs. There's some quarterback draws. I think there was one quarterback draw maybe. But it was just a really good game plan by Eric Bieniemy. And if our offense hadn't taken so long in the first half to kind of get it together, I think you would have gotten the result you guys wanted. However, to expect that is a bit much, because these are still human beings, and football is complicated, and the other team has to play defense. And ultimately, the other team started off playing fairly good defense, but it mostly felt like we were still stuck in our rut that we've been in all year, which is, how do we get our car to turn on? We're still stuck in first gear. How do we engage the clutch and get up to these other gears? And it just started to work well once we started running, and once we started getting Charbonnet in those gaps. And I'm giggling now. You know what what I called out? I think it was during the pregame show. I said that because our offensive line was basically healthy today, and it happened once Peters came in. It was like the play Peters came in. I said Disley should have a reception today after he does a check. Because our offensive line is healthy, we won't need to worry about keeping Disley in every single play anymore, and we should be able to start using our tight ends and receiving and running routes. And I would expect to have Disley do a check, release, and get a reception for a first down. What happened today? We were able to get our tight ends involved. We did that play exactly. That exact play happened. And I was like, that exact play happened. But we were able to get our tight ends involved, and we were able to get our running game involved. And by doing both of those things combined, it just took so much pressure off of Geno Smith. And he started being able to run the ball too. He ran for like a couple first downs, and it opened things up for Lockett and JSN and DK, who suddenly were like having one-on-one situations, because now you got to start covering these tight ends with like multiple guys instead too, because you can't just like run straight to your new assignment. You have to pause and wait, read the coverage, and then bolt to the coverage. Because this guy's constantly beating you, or that spot's constantly beating you. It might not be one specific spot on the field. It might just be an entire zone. Sorry, let me rephrase. It might not be a specific person. Like, it might not just be they're throwing to Tyler Lockett, and wherever Tyler Lockett is, he's beating us. It's they're running routes that are beating us on this specific spot on the field. So we need to make sure that whatever coverage we run covers that. Well, you don't know who's going to end up in that spot pre-snap. So you have to get into your coverage, and then you have to sit there and bolt. Unless you're in man. And then when you're in man, well, then the offense, since we're doing orbitals, we kept seeing Bobo running fucking orbitals in the back of the line. We're like, oh, this isn't man, this is fucking zone. Or if this is zone, we're just like, oh, we have our pre-snap assignments. Well, we're going to run our man and probably just check to a run, to be honest. And Charbonnet would run for 10 yards, or we just run a slant to DK. It was beautiful, right? And so I would like to see us continue that against the Rams. And I know that's looking forward to next week, but there's so much to build upon based off of this basic concept of just, if you run the ball, then you start to hold the defense in position, which lets your play action work. And we saw the entire first half of the season and the first half of this game that if you just try to pass the ball all the time with the play action motion, it doesn't work anymore. Teams used to fall for it, but now they just know, oh, play action doesn't mean anything because they're probably just going to pass the ball. Where teams before were trained, okay, you got to pause because it's play action. Now they don't give a fuck because they know that teams are doing play action as just a natural part of the process because they know that it'll cause a delay. Well, if you're just going to do that, then I'm just going to fall to my assignment. Fuck all that. Because I know you're not going to run the ball. I'm just going to have an assignment that takes care of the ball carrier. Okay, well, we're just going to take care of the dude that you have that's going to take care of the ball carrier. You only want to put one guy on the ball carrier? Well, fuck you. We're going to run the ball right at him with Charbonnet, who's going to beat your guy, because our offensive line is going to beat your guy, and then you're going to get a 5-yard carry. You're going to have to deal with that, and then you're going to have to abandon that whole plan of yours. You're going to have to actually honor our run game by pausing during play action. And then we're going to beat you with play action by passing the ball. And DK is going to have this explosive run after the catch. We're going to spike it, kick a field goal, and you get to fly home depressed. Suck our dicks. It was a good game. It was a hell of a good game. It wasn't just because we won. It was the way we adapted. I like it. We didn't win by remember the old Russell Wilson? He'd just do a panic, and then sometimes we'd win because how did we win that game? We Golden Tate managed to beat a guy over the top versus the Rams and then went bye-bye. Right. How did we win that game? Because a wide receiver managed to make an unbelievable play, and because our quarterback could throw a moon ball. And, we were just good at that thing. And then this one is no, we're gonna do this a progressive way. We're gonna do this, and then you're gonna do this. And then you're gonna do this, and then you're gonna do that. And then you're gonna do this, and then we're gonna do that. And right, we're gonna methodically kick your ass. But we did it like we're figuring it out. Next week versus the Rams, I want Waldron and Pete, and I want Andy Dickerson to look at this tape and be like, oh, this is how we kick people's ass. And then I want them to look at this Rams game, and I want them to look at week 1 and be like, fuck the Rams. And fuck McVay. Let's fuck it. And fuck Aaron Donald, too. I've been dealing with him for way too long. And I want them to take the lessons they learned from this Commanders game, and I want them to be like, this is our identity now. With the Charbonnet idea of, we're going to punch you in the mouth. Do you taste the blood? That's our blood mixing with your blood. Does it taste delicious? Do you want some more? And we're just going to keep fucking punching you in the mouth. And as you hesitate during play action, we're going to punch you in the mouth again. And as you hesitate during play action, is it going to collide with you? Or are you going to have to backpedal? Which one is coming for you? It's such a basic thing that for some reason we abandoned this year, but worked in this Commanders game in the second half when we decided to actually fucking do it. So let's fucking do it. And that's what I want to see going into the future. It was a beautiful thing today. I don't think I have anything else left today. I'm glad Tyler Lockett's okay. I'm a little surprised he didn't have a concussion. I hope Emmanuel Forbes is okay, and that his fine isn't too high. The way the NFL fines players is unacceptable for tons of reasons. Mostly because oftentimes when they get fined, it's a long season, and a lot of these players, like if you get like a $20,000 fine, that's like, a sixth of your paycheck. So, maybe the NFL should scale it or something. I don't know. Either way, the way that they fine these players, oftentimes also it's like you're not fining the players for finable things. You're fining them for things that happen because of the game. Imagine being fined at your job for being fined for things that happen naturally at your job. Like, you don't go to your job to cause problems. It's just a thing that naturally occurs. Like, the equipment broke again. Guess we're gonna have to fine you. Well, yeah, the equipment has a 4-month lifespan, and then it needs to be replaced. Nope, it broke. Gonna have to fine you. Like, well, yeah, every once in a while on the field, somebody's gonna have a wrong angle, and they're gonna go high on a quarterback. It's not a dirty play. Well, we're gonna have to fine you. Well, I might have been pushed in the back, or I might have tripped. Nope, we're gonna have to fine you. And sometimes you can try to go to the NFL and be like, I would like to argue against this fine and get my money back. And I think you can get like half of it back sometimes, but most of the time you never really hear back. You just get declined, is what I've heard from players. Like on the Pat McAfee show, they talk about it a lot. And so imagine you're just going about your business and you're not doing anything harmful. You're literally just doing what you're supposed to do. And sometimes things just happen because it's a natural progression of the play. It's a natural part of the game. So sure, throw a flag, but then they fine you on top of it. It's bad for the game, and it's bad for the players, because who now wants to be in a position where they rush the passer? Because especially like Quandre Diggs, he was going at the flat. They showed it recently on they were trying to explain via video what unnecessary roughness was versus a passer. And there's this video of a quarterback out on the flat, and they were clearly a rusher. They had the ball in their arm. They're running to the flat like they're going to run out of bounds, and Quandre Diggs is flying at him. And at the last second, right before Diggs hits him, quarterback stops and goes into a throwing position. Quandre hits him. Flag for unnecessary roughness. Roughness. And the reason it was unnecessary roughness is because the quarterback had assumed a throwing position. But he was a runner before. And my knowledge is once the quarterback assumes a running position and then goes outside of the pocket while still in the running position, even if they assume a quarterback position there's still a runner. Well, apparently not. So not only did Quandre Dix make a good play by taking down a quarterback and stopping the play, he got a 15-yard penalty. He got a warning, which if you get 2, you get ejected. And then he got fined for literally just playing the game. And so the fact that Emmanuel Forbes got ejected right away, again, Commanders fans, if you do watch this, which I 99.999% doubt, I understand why you're upset. In this specific case, Seahawks fans are going to call it a dirty play. A lot of people are going to call it a dirty play. Emmanuel Forbes came in on Tyler Lockett and headbutted the player and tackled him head to head. Headbutted this dude. And I don't think it was on purpose. And Tyler Lockett also is kind of notorious for getting hit in the head. And there's a lot of like short wide receivers, but he especially is notorious for getting hit in the head. And for somebody who's always like, I'm trying to take care of my body, and he always kind of feedles up, he doesn't take care of his head. So it's weird. And it was a little unsurprising to me. Not saying that I don't care about Tyler Lockett's health, especially his mental health, which is why I'm bringing this up. The reason why Emmanuel Forbes got ejected is not because he hit the player hard. It's not even really because it was head-to-head, because we see that all the time. It was because it was a headbutt play where he headbutted him so hard. It was a reminder, the ejection was a reminder of Antonio Brown, allegedly. Antonio Brown, allegedly, his health went on a massive decline after, I believe it was, allegedly, I'm doing this to protect myself because allegedly, Antonio Brown's health has been so poor he allegedly cannot handle anything really being said about him. Because after this concussion he received from the Bengals player Vontaze Burfict, he has never been the same. So much so that everyone's really worried about this guy. Even the people he is kind of harming. Because, like, what happened, dude? Well, we can kind of track it back to this time he got headbutted, essentially. Not head to head. I think he got kneed in the face. But it's the same type of force. And so Tyler Lockett, with this headbutt he received today from Forbes, the type of force was so intense. And it's going against Forbes' own head too, that it was an example. We do not want this type of collision in football. It was not you're a dirty player, get out of here. It was we don't want more Antonio Browns retiring from the NFL. We want to make sure our players are healthy. We also don't want to get sued. Right? Let's be real. That's what that really means. So, let's just first of all, I hope Tyler Lockett's okay. I'm a little surprised the NFL let him continue to play and that they didn't put him in concussion protocol the entire game. He always seems to pass concussion protocol, and I've never seen a player get hit in the head more than that man. I don't get it. And let's also hope that Forbes is okay. That the fine is not an example fine. I don't know how much he makes, and I don't feel like looking it up because it doesn't matter to me. Right now, but what matters is the example was being ejected out of the game. You don't right now, like, he's already lost his game paycheck. All that stuff has been stripped. You don't need to add an additional fine on top of it at this point. You've made your point. And I get you're trying to protect the player, Tyler Lockett. You have done it. Good job. You have made the point that you don't want somebody to headbutt at full velocity another player in the head. Which I agree, that's not okay. And also, it's one of those plays where let's make sure players are aware you'll get ejected if you do this, because we don't want you to turn into somebody who can't regulate your emotions when you get older. It might affect your, lifestyle and familial relations and things like that. It's a good highlight for players to be aware of. So, before I go, I want to bring up some things that that I want the Seahawks to rest on, before they go to bed. And then on Monday, it's Tell the Truth Monday. So right now we got a lot of things we're really jazzed about, and that's great. But on Monday when they go into the office, they got to be straight up with each other. And the first thing is they need to be honest with the way they approached the game and the way that they had to adapt to the game and why. And as somebody in the comments mentioned, our tackling was not great. I had talked throughout the week that I needed to see Jamal Adams quit with the shoelace tackling. And I talked about it all week, how it was screwing us on third downs, and it was screwing us on short yardage situations where he would get to the flat and he was in position to make a play. But then later in the game, after he missed the shoelace tackle and I was pulling my hair out, he adapted after some coaching. And it took all year for this to happen. But he started wrapping up around the legs. If he doesn't wrap up around the waist, the least you could do is wrap up around the waist. And he was doing it. It was wonderful. And so I want to see some more awareness of the fundamentals. I want them to be honest with the fact that when they entered the game, they were not prepared to play fundamentally sound football, and that they, with the coaches, needed to become aware of that and adapt to it. They need to tell that truth. And then on the offensive side, they need to come in on Monday and they need to say, we ended up having a great end of the game. We scored those 2 late game touchdowns, but we went into the game trying to do the same thing we've done all year. And just like we've been doing all year, we haven't moved the chains. And we have been fundamentally putting our quarterback into situations where he fails. And our coach has been begging us to run the ball, to set up play action. And it wasn't until we started running the ball with Charbonnet between the tackles did the opposing defenses have to not only start honoring the run, but start pausing on play action passes. Because when they pause to honor the run, it would give our quarterback enough time to read the field. So that's what the offense needs to come to terms with and enter Tell the Truth Monday saying. They need to say, we are a running first offense that runs between the tackles to set up play action for Geno Smith. Not the other way around. And then on defense, they need to say, we need to enter the game not looking for explosives right off the bat. We need to play fundamentally sound football, and by doing so, it will enable explosives. All right, that's all I have. I think I covered it all. Except for Michael Dixon got ran into and they didn't call a flag. That's just the refs for you. Like and subscribe. I really appreciate it. Go Hawks. Reminder that we got Brett Ripien on our practice squad. He was the Rams' previous starting quarterback in filling for Matt Stafford. He's going to probably be the scout quarterback for our offense against our number ones this week. So look forward to me talking more about the Rams up this week. Until then, you guys have a good night.